Hello and welcome to the first episode of my EG hatch build. So this here is the EG hatch that I won at auction. As you can see, it's completely totaled and it's been deregistered due to all the damage. So this thing has a fuel injected D16 and it is also manual. And as you can see, it has a lot of good parts on it. So it has the wheels, lowering springs, wing, tinted windows. Like it's obviously clearly had a lot of money spent on it, and it's such a shame that we can't save this chassis because the paint is really nice. Like, it's such a clean EG, zero rust, but you can also see there's a bit of damage back here too. But we ended up scoring this thing off the auctions for $1,500. It was going for so cheap that I thought, you know what, this thing's got definitely more than $1,500 worth of parts on it that I could sell, so I may as well buy it and then see from there. So the original plan, of course, was to actually part it out, but as soon as I bought it, I went and had a look at it. It was too clean, and I got really excited about building an EG. I've always wanted to build one, so I did a post on Facebook asking if anyone has an EG hatch shell or rolling body or whatever for sale, and someone ended up messaging me on Facebook, and yeah, so I went and had a look at that the other day. And I paid him $1,500, the same price as I paid for that. So yeah, that should be rocking up anytime this morning. But in the meantime, I think we're firstly gonna try and see if we can get this thing started so that we can pull it in here and then get to tearing that thing down. So if you're new to the channel, then you probably don't know that I love my EFs. So this is my third ever EF, and I've recently kind of just finished it, got it to a state where I'm pretty happy with it. This is my daily driver. It's an automatic carbureted, but man, it's nice to drive and it looks so good. In the last episode, we painted the side skirts, color matched it, and painted the front lip too, and it looks so good now. I'm in love. I do think EFs are my favorite chassis, but I've always loved the look of EGs as well. I think they look so sick. The really cool thing about the EG chassis is there's so many bloody parts available for these things. They share parts with so many other Hondas, and parts are basically a lot cheaper, way easier to get your hands on, so the builds end up way cheaper and they go a lot quicker. So yeah, these chassis tend to have a lot more parts available and a lot more aftermarket support than the EF chassis, which is unfortunate because I do love my EFs. But yeah, I'm so excited to really see what it's like to build an EG and actually have my own EGs to drive around. Like I said, this is going to be an absolutely massive project. I kind of don't even really know where to start. I got to fully tear this thing down and swap it into a whole nother shell, so it's going to be a massive project, but hopefully this should be a really interesting few videos for you guys. So I'm trying to get this thing rolling, and you can see under here the chassis was actually hitting the wheel. You can see just how roasted all this chassis is, so you can try smack it back and then get a new wheel on here and see what happens. Far out, this is such a massive project, guys. I genuinely don't even know where to start, but I think first things first, I'm gonna try ripping this engine out. So as you can see, there's tons of damage in here. The hood's like toast, but basically I think I might even have to chop all this frame out first in order so I can pull this out. So yeah, wish me luck. First steps have been made to getting this engine out, and one of them is getting the radiator out, and as you can see, this thing has clearly seen some better days, so that'll be going in the junk. But yeah, let's keep digging away. So we have everything disconnected from the engine, and now it's time to pull this thing out. That we have the engine out of. It wasn't too hard. I did notice that there was this little mount down here, which I've never seen before. That's not on my ES. Yeah, didn't know about that, so I was trying to pull it out. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't coming out. It's because of this little mount here. There's also another one on this side, which is an interesting design. A few differences I am noticing between this and the EF is mainly suspension-wise with the lower A-arm, but apart from that, it's basically the exact same, which is really nice. I'm not too sure actually what the plan is now. I don't really know what to do next. Essentially, most of the stuff out of this engine bay needs to go into the other car. But the main thing that I think is really going to take a long time on this project is I got to fully strip the interior and take the entire wiring loom out of this car and plonk it in that car, because this was fuel injected, that one's carbureted, and the wiring looms are actually quite different for the fuel pump and that sort of things. But yeah, you can see just the massive extent of this damage here. It would have moved this entire strut tower, and actually I noticed some of the suspension bits were a bit hard to take off, so that means the strut tower has moved. So if you did want to try and fix this car, you'd need to replace, oh geez, I've never seen that. It's even crumpled all the way back to here. So you basically need to replace that whole thing, replace this entire frame rail. Look, it's even crumpled up to there, which is mental. Must have been going pretty fast. But yeah, although it is pretty sad that I'm basically ending the life of this EG, I think we can all say that it's not really savable, and in fact I'm taking two unsavable cars and making one good car, which I think is really, really cool. So yeah, I'm not too sure what to do next, but I'm going to crack on. Just devised the plan. I'm going to be bringing the carb forward to here, jacking it up real high, and I'm going to be dropping the fuel tank, all the wiring that's involved with that, all the fuel hard lines, the shifter linkage, the exhaust, everything that's underneath the car. So let's get into that. I think this is going to be the worst job out of this entire project, but let's just get it out of the way so we have a good day's worth of work for us tomorrow. A bit of a tight squeeze under here, but you can see we have an aftermarket exhaust system that has a resonator delete, aftermarket resonator there, and then into the aftermarket muffler back there. So that'll be the first thing we'll try to take off now. These are the moments where I just really wish I had a lift, but anyway, you got to make do with what you got. Now I'm going to be draining all the fuel from this fuel tank. It's just use that nut there, and then should be able to drain all of it out. If you ever attempt to pull a fuel tank, make sure you pull every single last drop of that fuel, because trust me, you do not want to be lifting that extra weight, especially when you're doing it on the ground like this and not on a lift. Alrighty, so we need to come into the car now and disconnect a few of the wires at the top of the fuel tank for the fuel pump and the fuel level sender, and then we'll be able to drop the tank. This is below the rear seats, and we'll just take this cover off and then we can disconnect it. So these here are the plugs that I've just disconnected. Then we can go ahead and disconnect the fuel feed and fuel return line, and then we should be able to just drop the tank. And just like that, our fuel injected fuel tank is out. Alright, so you see this thing underneath the plastic cover? That is the fuel hard line. So my job now is I'm going to try and pull them all off as one, and then we can use that for the other car. The reason why we do this is because I'm pretty sure on the fuel injected chassis, these hard lines are a little bit bigger. So yeah, that's the reason why we do it. I've been working away at trying to get these fuel lines dropped, but I think I'm gonna need to drop the subframe so that I can pull all of these hard lines out. So yeah, didn't want to do this, but I'm gonna have to, so let's do it. Finally, the hard lines are out of the car. It was a little bit of a mish. All I had to do was just drop the subframe a little bit, then I could just squeeze them out. But yeah, massive success. So basically, these are the two fuel lines here, and then these are the two brake lines. But I don't think I'm going to be reusing the brake lines, just swapping over the fuel lines. But yeah, this is really, really exciting. I'm making progress way faster than I thought I would, which is always a good thing. I think I'm going to take the front seats out, and then I'll fully drop the shift linkage from the inside, and then I'll call it a night. And then tomorrow we'll be back to attack all of the interior, take apart the rest of this sort of stuff, and then hopefully by the end of tomorrow we'll have all the loom and stuff in that car. So yeah, let's see. Holy heck, it's been a long few hours in the garage, and I can gladly say that I finally have every single piece of wiring out of the EG. As you can see here, this is up by the fuse box on the right hand side, goes behind along the firewall over to the ECU. This part here goes into the engine bay. This part here also goes into the engine bay. That splits off here, which is pretty cool. And then this runs all the way back. That's the fuel pump. And then this is like rear tail lights, that sort of thing. Although it's taken me a long time to get to this point, and it's been a lot of hard work, it is so satisfying and so therapeutic. These cars are literally just like a real-life Lego. You take parts off, you put parts on, and then eventually you get to the point where you're just left with nothing. So that's what we're at the moment, which is really, really cool. I find it so satisfying now that this job is finally complete. It's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. When I was getting into the project, I was most scared about basically stripping all the wiring out. I thought it was going to be a really massive job, and to be fair, it has been, but it's been a lot easier than I initially anticipated, and I feel confident that I can put it all back together, hopefully. It's so satisfying reaching this point because aside from a few things still left to take off on this car, we're about 90% complete with stripping it down. So that means next time we come down to work on the car, we can get this out the garage and we can bring our other chassis in and we can start prepping that for all of the parts that we've taken off over the last few days. So here is now our automatic to manual kind of shifter block off plate. Yeah, you'll see how it fits once we mock it up on the other shell. So I think for now, we're actually done with this shell and we can actually roll it out the garage and get the white one in here and start working on it, which is so exciting.
Done.
So obviously we have a little bit of a crack here and we need to get the windscreen out. So it's going to get fully cracked anyway. And I think instead of paying someone to do it, I'm going to smash it up and then try to take it out myself. So.
No.
Why not?
There's no safety, mate. Where are the goggles? There's glass coming off it, bro.
Yeah, trying to fix this rust hole here, so that's why it's got to come out. As you can see, we've got the white EG now in the garage and we're beginning to start working it. And I was actually just going to end the video there, but after pulling the white EG in, I couldn't help myself but take a deeper dive into some of the rust. So what we did there, as you saw, we took the windscreen out and the rust is extremely bad and I'm really, really bummed about it. As you can see, massive hole rotting all the way through this. This should all be metal here. And then you can see it's rusted out here, little bit there, more here, rusted more there. And then when you come on the other side here, there's another massive hole here. As well as I'm still yet to kind of shave all that back. On top of that, when you come inside the car, there's a massive rust hole right there. And then this is an even bigger problem. Completely rusted out right there, but the back of the car, there's all this rust along here, as well as this big rust hole here, which has actually gone through inside past the 2 layers, and then that continues all the way across. And then the car just has random little surface rusty kind of spots like this on every single panel that I've found. And then I found one more rust hole right here, which is actually decent size too, which is another bummer. Same thing with kind of this fix here. What happened was, originally when I bought the car, I didn't actually see this because this actually had bog all over it. So someone had just wedged a whole bunch of bog in there to do the job. And like, if that is a sign of what this car is about, like the whole engine bay's been resprayed, the entire car's been resprayed, and the entire inside's been resprayed. It just kind of makes me question all the other bodywork, you know, like what if there's massive rust holes and they've just bogged it up in the rear too, or like in this thing, you know, just quick fixes. And same with underneath the car, the whole underbody has been undersealed, but you can see the rust already starting to come through. So, but yeah, that was basically my thought process. I wasn't actually going to show you guys anything about this car in this episode, but I do really want to get you guys' opinion on whether you guys think that this chassis is savable or it's worth me just going out and buying a whole nother rolling body. Although they're hard to come by, they're super cheap and like is another $500 to $1,000 worth more than me spending how many hours trying to fix up this rust and stuff. Saying that, I do have a whole nother chassis there, obviously, which I can take rust cuts off and that sort of thing. But then again, that's just double the labor when realistically I'm just trying to polish up a turd. Actual fact, it'll be a lot easier trying to start off with like a clean chassis without having to do any kind of rust work. Like I do back myself to, you know, fix this up, maybe chop it out, patch it up, but it's obviously just not going to be anywhere near as good as it is from the factory. And I'm just wondering, with all the kind of surface rust all over the car, whether just the entire thing's just, it's just a bit far gone. But yeah, I am actually super bummed out about this. I thought this was going to be kind of like a week-long project, like strip that car down and then like strip the rest out of it here and then quickly slap everything back on and boom, you have a running and driving EG. But that is not the case. And actually, I'm really starting to regret how much I paid for this car. I actually paid $1,500 for this chassis, and I personally think that it's too far gone to be fixed. without a lot of work. But it's just not really worth it when the rolling body's only worth like realistically only $500. But yeah, what a bummer. So that was where I was going to end that video, but I put a little poll on my Instagram asking my followers whether they reckon I should fix it, sell it, part it out, or whatever, and a lot of people were voting for me to fix it. So I came back down here, ready to crack on with the new video and try and fix this thing. It ain't looking good, bruv. So as you can see, found a bit more rust in the bloody EG here. It's just never ending. So as you can see, completely rotting out even from underneath. The side's nowhere near as bad as the other side though. Check this out. Oh my god. Look at that. Jesus Christ. Under here too. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. I mean, we could still save it. Everything is fixable, but for the amount that this car is worth, I'm just not sure whether that is fixable. So I'm going to be hunting for a new shell, and I think for now I'm not going to do any more work to this rotten shell. So yeah, what an absolute bummer. But honestly, I wasn't even surprised when I found that rust under there due to all the other rust that we found everywhere else. So, I've made such a massive loss on this car, but, you know, it just is what it is. It's a bit of a bummer to end on such a crappy note, but we have got so much work done in the past few days on these cars, and I've made heaps of progress, and I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.